Yo, what up everyone? Today I'm making a video on the Hell Ladies and in my opinion which one is the best to summon. A little bit different format from what I've been doing previously, and since a lot of us, especially people who watch my videos, are in very different stages of the game, instead of just giving an answer of which Hell Lady to summon regardless of your progress, I'm gonna start to divide my thoughts into how well they perform for each part of the game. So I've made 6 main parts of the game, and I'll be rating them from 1 to 10 on each part of the game and how well they perform in it. So without much further ado, we'll start with the fire one, and these are the ratings that I've given them. So for the fire one, if you do not know, her first skill does not do anything apart from the multiplier. Her second skill, it gives a critically down effect, and if the target has burn, it also has a little bit of self-healing. And her third skill, of course, removes shield if the opponent has it, and gives burn for 20 seconds. And for each what are called enemy hit, you will be applying additional burn levels. And her ult is pretty similar to their third skill, so you just strip the shield and apply a burn effect. So for the Kairos dungeon, I've given her a ranking of, or rather a rating of 2. She does not really have any good skills for any of the Kairos dungeons, but I didn't want to give her a 1 since she does have a little bit of burn, which does act as an additional damage there, and she does have critically down, which could technically help you with the run. So definitely not 1, but other than that, it's really not that good in Kairos. And similar to Path of Growth, of course, for Path of Growth, I'm only going to be targeting the rune dungeons, as the subjugation and what's it called, the left one, Path of Training, are pretty easy to do, and the rune dungeons are the main hardest part of the Path of Growth. So since she's fire element, she's of course not good for the Queen Spider's Nest as well as the laboratory. As for the other 3, for Forgotten Earthshrine, the main goal is getting those attack and debuff, rather attack and debuff. What I can't talk. Attack and defense buffs are stripped, and she does not do any of that. For the Glance Cave, the main goal is applying burn, so she technically does apply burn, but other than that, she will really not be that useful there. And for the lava cave, of course, there's no shield, there's nothing, so she's only useful for the minuscule burn effect as well as the critically down. So I'm gonna give her a 2. Maybe, actually, I'm thinking that since Glance does need a damage over time effect, I will give her a 3, since she does have that on her third skill, but I definitely cannot give it any more than that. For Expedition, I will only be counting the Wind Arachne, as the other ones are very limited, and there's just a lot of playing around with the teams that you have with your current units. So I'm mostly targeting the Special Expedition, the Wind Arachne that you can do 20 a day. And for that, other than being fire element, she doesn't provide much again. She will give you critically down, which in some cases could be useful, but in the majority of them, not really. And she does have a little bit of burn, and since there are additional spiderlings around her, you will be hitting multiple enemies, and the burn level will be a little higher. However, other than that, I definitely cannot give her a higher rating for it, since there are way better options for it. For raids, there isn't much to talk about. For raids, of course, I'm counting only the elite raids, since, well, rather elite raids and seal, as the what are called rupture ones are pretty easy to do, and the first 2 raids, the reed heal and the butterfly tomb, are super easy, so I'm not counting those. And for elite raids, she really doesn't have any skills that are useful for it. the crit rate down definitely isn't something you need and worth sacrificing a slot for. And as for Seal, she does have one burn on her third skill, but other than that, having a single burn on a skill that has cooldown is definitely nowhere near enough to be good for Seal, so I'm actually just giving him a flat up 1 for the raid part. Now the battlefield and arena is something she excels a little bit more in. For the battlefield, the main part why I'm giving her a 6 is because she does remove the shields, and I believe the ability is actually AoE. Let me check it real quick. Lady, where you at? And yes, the third skill is, yeah, within the area. This means it does remove all shields within the area, and a lot of AoE abilities are super good in the battlefield, as in majority of the fight you are fighting multiple allies versus multiple enemies, and if you are able to script all shields with a single skill, that will help a lot. Also, since you will be most likely hitting multiple enemies, there is a good chance that you will land a very high level burn effect. So just because of that third skill, I'm giving her a 6, as she's definitely a solid unit in the battlefield. And in Arena, I'm giving her a 5. I think she would be lower later on, but just because a lot of people are still using what they call bastets, shields are still a very popular option, and she will definitely counter enemies that do use bastet in defense pretty well. So I will give her a 5. Uh, in the future, the rating would definitely drop to like a 3 or 4, since the meta would most likely change quite a bit. So yeah, overall, a decent unit in PvP, definitely not something you want for the PvE part, however. And now going towards the win one, or the water one, these are the ratings I've given her. Let me turn the skill menu on. So yeah, her first skill, of course, doesn't provide anything either. Her second skill, it increases silence duration if you do have it on an enemy, and it also gives attack down with a 90% chance. The attack itself is single target, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, the attack itself is single target, so that's a bit rough for the second skill. And the third skill, I believe it is also single target, and it gives a silence for 8 seconds and a little bit of recovery. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the main important part is, of course, that she does ignore damage denial effects, and the enemies that die by the skill cannot be revived. So looking into PvE, of course, for all 4 PvE parts, that death denial will not be too important. So just because of the attack down, for Kairos I've given her a little bit of a higher rating, but even then it's only because it's a little bit better than crit rate down in my opinion from the fire one. But other than the attack bar down, her skills also really don't contribute much to the beating Kairos dungeon, so she's staying at a 3. Now for Path of Growth, this is where she will be a really good counter for one of the dungeons. So I'm giving her a 5 for Path of Growth, as she does have the ability to target the Laboratory of Madness really well, and basically the Laboratory of Madness guy does have Endure once he gets really low. So technically, you can ignore the Endure with your Water Hell Lady as long as the skill still works the same as with the previous update, where the Death Denial was changed to Ignore Endure and Death Prevention was a different effect. So if this does ignore Endure, she is definitely a pretty decent option for Laboratory of Madness. For other dungeons, I've given her a little bit of a higher rating due to the attack down as well, as I feel it is an important debuff for dealing with dungeons. But other than that, she definitely won't be too much of a use in Path of Growth, so I'm staying I'm giving her a 5. I think the Dead Null effect definitely pulls up quite a bit, as Laboratory of Madness is probably the most difficult Path of Growth dungeon. For Expedition, of course, she's the water element, so against Wind Arachne, it's impossible to use, instantly A1. For raids, I feel like I wanted to give her at least a 2 or 3, but like just because of the attack down, but again, I feel like for raids, each slot is very important, and ways to get on a unit like the Water Hell Lady, which only has the attack down, is not enough, so I'm giving her a 1 as well. Now for the battlefield, this is where she will shine as well. So of course the first thing is it does counter stuff like Cleaves, it does counter stuff like Water Beetles or the Dark Hawk Magician, basically units that prevent death and give various effects that prevent death, so like Endure buffs. Other than that, the Silence is very good, but she will mostly be used here in a 1v1 scenario rather than group fights, so keep that in mind that if you do go into a team fight where you fight multiple people versus multiple people, she will not be too good there, but if you do manage to snag a 1v1 fight, she should be pretty good at eliminating at least one target with her Dead Denial. And for the arena battlefield, of course, this is a more controlled environment and more of a 1v1 environment, so single target units again will be way better than in battlefield. So based on that, since she can counter a lot of cleaves, she can counter all of those water beetles with Orbius. I'm giving her an 8 in both battlefield and arena brawl. So overall, definitely a little better than the fire one. But for the PvE part, definitely doesn't excel either. So if you're looking for that, it's not the best choice. And for the wind one, overall, the wind one I feel like is the best. And I would have summoned for her, but I know that the vampire hunters that should be coming out in the future are something I need a little more, so I'm saving for those. For the wind one, of course, her first skill doesn't do anything. Her second skill does defense break and oblivion, very similar to what the fire ifrit can offer. And her third skill, it does a stun based on the HP that is remaining on the enemy. It also steals effects. Keep in mind, this is not just removing, but actually getting those effects on herself as well. And she does defense penetration damage, so you can expect quite a bit of damage from that third skill. And her ult is of course very similar to the third skill, just a little higher chances as well as damage compared to the third skill. So for Kairos, some Kairos bosses do have the invincibility, like the wind one I believe. So she is good at removing that. Also, since she has a defense break, I think this is the most important debuff in the game, and it being on a 3 mana cost, I believe. Let me actually check that real quick. Where is the wind? Etna? Come on, game, don't lag on me now. And her third skill, or rather second skill, yeah, it's on 3 cost mana. So basically, you are able to land the consistent defense break on the boss, which allows you to do a lot more damage. And just because of the defense break, as well as the decent damage with her third skill, I will be giving her at least a 5. For Path of Growth, we're looking at mostly the dungeons that aren't fire. So of course, since she's Wind Element, Forgotten Earth Shrine, and Lava Cave fall out of the picture. But for the other ones, Queen's Pyrex, her third skill won't be too impactful, but she does have a defense break there, so always useful. For the Tierg Landscape, the boss does have effects that you can strip, and the defense break you provide could be a solid replacement for Helia in some cases, so definitely pretty useful there. And for Laboratory of Madness, similar to the water ones, since this boss does get Endure, you can actually very easily just strip the buff and kill him that way. I mean, stealing the buff in that case won't be too important, as he only gets endure when he's very low, and in that case you're already looking at killing him. So for that, I feel like she's very useful at the dungeons she can do, so rather the not fire ones, and I'm giving her a solid 8 there. For the expedition, this is mostly for her second skill, so meaning that you do get a defense break, and I'm giving her a 4. There's really nothing special about her in the expedition other than the defense break, as well as the decent defense penetration damage. So yeah, she's getting a 4 purely for the defense break, and the defense penetration damage is a nice addition to that. For raids, it's also similar. It's mostly because of the defense break and the decent damage. Other than that, there are definitely better replacements for raids. For the battlefield, she's a decent pick, as she can nuke a lot of assassin picks pretty easily due to being an, or rather not assassin types, but like archers and mages. Since she's an assassin type, she will target those primarily. For the battlefield though, her skills are really single target only, so if you do a lot of group fights, she will not be too great there. But again, similar to the water one, if you are able to pick those 1v1 scenarios, she will most likely eliminate a unit that the enemy has, especially if it's an archer or something like that. She's also an amazing counter to units like Tiamar's, because she can just steal the buffs that he gets at 0 HP. She's also amazing into cleaves, since she can just steal that endure and kill the cleave instantly. And finishing off with the Arena and Brawl Arena, this is a unit that gets a straight up 10. She's made for Arena and Brawl Arena. First of all, she counters a lot of meta picks, so Tiamar's, Cleave, she can kill all of those buffers like Busa or Bastet. Basically, any buff that the enemy has, you can treat it as not existence with Ethna. Also, once those buffs are stripped, you have a perfect setup with a defense break and oblivion. This means that you're silencing any passives that the enemy might have, and pretty much preparing the unit to be ready to kill, to be killed rather. So yeah, for Arena and Brawl Arena, she's getting a straight up 10 there, as the second and third skill combo can do a lot of deadly damage to any unit on the field. And yeah, other than that, the unit you pick will be based, of course, on the progress that you're looking for. So if you're looking to progress towards more PvE side, you can see whether one of the units is something you would like to do. Overall, if you feel like you progressed a lot and just looking for the best Hell AD, in my opinion, Windborne is by far the best. Water does have its uses, and the Fire one is pretty much like, I don't want to say this word, but in my opinion, it's pretty trash. Just counting the shields is not enough, and once more units come out, the Bastets will be used less and less, and she will definitely fall off quite a bit. So yeah, my final opinion, Fire one not good, Water very situational, and depends whether you're missing that death denial damage. Wind one the best by far. So yeah, other than that, if you have any other questions or stuff like that, drop them in the comments, and see you in the next one.